Hey everybody, what's going on? Juan here, welcome back to the channel, and for this video, we're going to be talking about one of the most classic games within the PlayStation 2's library. And yeah, this game is also available on PC, on your phone, it's available on pretty much everything at this point, but the console that I experienced it was on the PS2, and the game is Grand Theft Auto 3. Which originally came out on October 2001. And this game is such a big deal because many say it revolutionized open world games. It really opened our eyes into seeing that games can be way more than a linear experience. Now, admittedly, I'm not really big into open world games. As a matter of fact, one of the only open world games that I've ever beaten was the very first Infamous game on the PlayStation 3. And for context, I have played multiple Grand Theft Auto games, including GTA 2 for like a couple of minutes, Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I've also played 4 and 5, even if it's just a little bit. Now, notice that I omitted a certain specific game of the Vice City kind. That's right, I've never played Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and I know you're going to be throwing something at me. I apologize. Let me know which is your favorite Grand Theft Auto game. And the reason that I'm talking about this game is that it's going to be a future topic for the A Cast of the Past podcast. Every Sunday we talk about the games, the movies, and the wrestling shows that we watched and experienced growing up and ask ourselves the question, does it still hold up? So I had to complete the game, which admittedly, I beat it for the first time. And I've never beaten a single Grand Theft Auto game. And the reason, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, is that I'm not really big into open world games because me as a gamer, I tend to get easily overwhelmed. So think of your Assassin's Creed in a most recent example. You go to the map and there's like 800 missions. Now with this game, we actually didn't even have a map. So with Grand Theft Auto 3, for this video, I'm going to be talking about why I felt the necessity to cover it, to play it, to experience it, what I liked about it, and what definitely did not hold up. Because remember, it came out in 2001. This is when a lot of games still didn't really figure out the proper use of analog sticks. This is when a lot of games, graphically speaking, were in this transitional phase, if you will, that definitely don't hold up. But before all that, I want to sort of go back and remember that this is 2001. Whenever you showed this to somebody, everybody had an opinion about Grand Theft Auto 3 because of the mature content that it had, because of the fact that you could run over people, you could shoot everybody, and it is a very violent game. In contrast to now, you play this and it's like, oh, this is so cute. Remember when it tried to look like it was real and to be very violent? So many more games nowadays are far more violent than this was, but it was such a mainstream game. It was accessible. It was in the PlayStation 2, the console that pretty much everybody had because it also had a DVD player. It was cheaper to buy a PS2 for DVDs than it was to buy a regular DVD player at Blockbuster or anywhere else you could buy like Circuit City. So it was super accessible. So obviously when this came out, you go to a Walmart, you see a kid that wants to buy this game, you know, the parent takes it home, they put the game disc in, and it's like, holy crap, what is this? I remember I had so many people around me at that time that did not like video games, and they would tell me, oh, do you play that Grand Theft Auto? It became that. It almost became the equivalent of, you know, an older person that doesn't really know about video games. To them, everything is a Nintendo. To many people, a violent video game or a video game in 2001 had only one option, and that option was Grand Theft Auto 3. And then the other challenging thing, if you were a teen and you didn't have this game, you weren't cool. Everybody would peer pressure me to play Grand Theft Auto 3, but economically speaking, we could not buy it. So whenever I had somebody that owned it or a friend or something, I would beg them, can I please play it? So I would drive around and be horrified by the horrible graphics. Redundant, but it's true, because I think that we can all agree, even when this game came out, we're not talking about LCD or LED TVs or anything like that. We're talking about good old-fashioned CRT fat TVs. And even then, this game was very ugly. But despite all of the not-so-great things GTA 3 could have, this is a revolutionary game, and we're going to be getting to talking about the things that I did like about GTA 3. The first thing has to be its simplicity. We have games like Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 now where you can play tennis, you can do thousands upon thousands of activities that are not tied to the main story, or they may be even tied, but it's not tied to Grand Theft Auto. We talk about GTA without forgetting the fact that it is Grand Theft Auto. It is technically a game or a franchise based on stealing cars. And this game is the definition of that. You start the game out with your silent main character who's currently escaping. Pretty much after that, it's different missions involving, well, steal this car, or take this person over there, or equip this car with a bomb, so when somebody goes into it, it goes boom. And it's a variation of these different missions that do get a little bit more complex or complicated as time goes by. You also have access to boats and missions that are very aggravating, and we'll be talking about that just a little bit later. You're getting this game, you see cars on the cover, you see Grand Theft Auto 3, and it's about stealing cars. Another thing I did like about the game, although this varies wildly, is the driving mechanics, because they are very much hit and miss. I remember with Grand Theft Auto 4, and I include myself in that bunch, there was a huge controversy about just how badly those cars handled, and I had to agree. And with this one, it all depends on the car that you're holding. So if it is a racing car, if it's a fancy car, those cars are super quick, they take the sharp turns no problem. So considering the fact that you have these garages of which you can store cars in, you can save the game, when you come back, that car's nice and crisp and ready to be driven, you want to make sure you have either a taxi, which those are pretty good, or any of the racing cars. But everything else, holy crap, the turns, everything about them, not so great, but we're talking about the good things. Something else that I enjoyed about the game is the silent character. Going all the way back to The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, I'm a really big fan of characters that don't really talk all that much, especially when you play as them, because to me, I'm the character, it's my story. I choose if I want to run somebody over or not. But when you go to Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5, these characters are defined. They have a very outlined story, and if you don't play according to that character, it's kind of weird. And I think that's the biggest problem with open world games as opposed to linear ones, because the character is saying this, but I'm doing that, and they don't necessarily mesh together. So when you have the silent character whose job is to, well, complete this mission, how you go about completing the mission is entirely up to you, and it doesn't clash as opposed to these other games that I just mentioned. The thing that I love most about GTA 3, going all the way back to when I first played it, has got to be the cheat codes, because I remember I would write them down and I would wedge them right in there, talking about ammo, health, weapons, the tank, changing your character to be something else, riding in the streets, blowing up cars, flying vehicles. What I really liked about GTA 3 is that this is a video game, that it's meant to be ridiculous. Spawn a tank and fly by all the missions. You can make that tank fly if you want. You can make everybody ride on the streets. Have fun. The character doesn't talk because you're doing the talking as you're playing the game. And I think that is part of the experience. Not just in GTA, but with a lot of games. Going all the way back to the Contra codes, to previous consoles. I was watching Scott DeWaz, a great YouTube channel, and even he mentioned it, like nowadays, cheat codes have become sort of a DLC. They become the thing that you pay for, the accelerator pack in WWE 2K19. It's no longer embedded into the game. If you just want to be silly in the game, you can go ahead and do that, and you don't have to pay more. You don't have to be penalized for it. And with Grand Theft Auto, it's super easy. It's just a couple of inputs. You don't even have to go to a main menu, and I really appreciated that. So we talked about the things that I enjoyed about GTA 3, and now we're going to shift things up to the not so beautiful part, the things that I didn't necessarily enjoy about GTA 3, either back then or especially now. And the first one has got to be the boat mechanics, actually driving a boat. There's not a ton of missions about this, but you can tell when a game is like, okay, we want to offer a little bit of variety. There's a lot of driving normal cars, but hey, why not a boat? Unless you're playing a simulation-based game, you got to scale it back a little bit. You got to have it be a little bit more accessible, and at no point did I have fun driving a boat. Whenever I had a mission that required I drive around to pick up a couple of items or shooting somebody there, I just had no fun. I couldn't wait to finish the mission. And I guess you could see that as a whole, because even with the cars, the missions that involve shooting from one car to another, you got to press the shoulder button to shoot outside the window of the car, and that was convoluted as well. So I guess more so than boats, it's combining shooting and driving mechanics on the same mission at the same time. And while we're talking about the shooting mechanics, let's stay there for a little bit, because wow, I forgot how bad the shooting mechanics were in this game. I'm actually surprised at the fact that this game did so well, considering you grab a bazooka, you have a sniper rifle, you have everything, but actually using them is terrible. And I know there's an auto aim. These games are not meant to be precision shooters. This is not your Call of Duty. This is not Overwatch or any first-person shooter or third-person shooter. This is a game where you experience the world, and the shooting is almost a gateway to just completing a mission. It's not necessarily about being good or bad at it. It's just another mechanic added to the game. But there was a mission in particular where the enemies were sort of around the corners, and if you shoot forward, he's just kind of like doing this. He's not even aiming. A lot of times, he'd just be like shooting to the back. It's like, oh, I think I'm getting the guy. I think I'm getting the guy. And then, yeah, when you auto-aim, it kind of works, but it seems so loose and poorly implemented, and it's just bad. It is bad shooting mechanics in an otherwise excellent game. We just talked about the shooting mechanics and briefly mentioned the mission structure, and I think that without a shadow of a doubt, the most aggravating thing that I hated about this game, because there's no other word for it, is there is no retry mission button. And in 2018, that seems like a normal thing. That seems like, of course, it would have that. So even when I first died in a mission, when I was replaying it, I'm like, okay, go to the start menu. There's no, I see a load, I see delete, I see new. I can't retry the mission. And it wouldn't seem like such a big deal if it wasn't for the fact that as you keep progressing in the game, a lot of the missions require you do this, but then you do that, but you're still on the same mission. Or because the shooting mechanic is so bad, you got to the very end, but you died. You got to drive all the way back. Sometimes you got to get your weapons again, or you got to get this specific vehicle in order to get access to this specific place. And just driving from the person that gives you the mission to driving to the actual place where the mission is before you even attempt the mission can take a lot of minutes. And it's simply an unnecessary obstacle because you're penalizing the player for failing the mission, but you're not letting them retry the mission. You're saying, oh, well, go all the way back to the beginning. It's not like your early NES games like Contra, because with Contra, if you die, you go all the way back at the beginning if you're out of continues, right? But the difference is you're not starting to play Contra to get to this point to begin the mission. From the moment that you play Contra, you're already experiencing what you're supposed to be playing, as opposed to GTA that now they go, oh, well, drive back there before you even consider trying this again, even though a lot of times you could be right next to it. Man, I feel riled up. I gotta calm down. Hopefully I'm not scaring you right now. And the next one is not necessarily a bad thing, more so surprising. There's no map. I had started the game assuming that it's GTA, it's got multiple locations, so I gotta be able to see a map just to know where the mission is, because you have a mini map, so I want that, but bigger, and it doesn't exist. And it can get confusing because sometimes you had a couple of missions that's like go here and then there, but because they're so far apart in the mini map, it just doesn't really move. So if you just had, a couple of seconds to access a normal map, things would be clear. So maybe an oversight, I'm not sure. I'm just very surprised that was not part of it. And then the last thing about things that I did not like about GTA 3, the graphics, especially the eyebrows. Just look at this. I feel like I could talk about this for 30 minutes, or I could just show you this, and you're probably horrified if you've never played this game. This is no mods, no glitches. This is the beautiful graphics of Grand Theft Auto 3, which, man, the people in this game are ugly. They are objectively ugly. You can make the argument about these being the ugliest people in the world. And I'm not talking about one character in particular. I'm saying, holy crap, because I get it. It's an open world game. You're making this for the PlayStation 2, so you have some hardware limitations as to what you can do. So maybe they had a concept for these highly detailed characters, but they were not able to do it because you would sacrifice performance, even though this game often, it runs at around 20-25 frames per second. Rarely does it reach 30, at least in my case, but there had to be some other alternative that didn't look this bad. So maybe some people don't mind this, maybe some people kind of like it, but man. So folks, those right there have been my impressions about Grand Theft Auto 3. So if you were to ask me, Juan, should I consider playing this game once again? The answer undoubtedly has got to be yes, because yeah, it's ugly, the shooting mechanics are bad, but think about the fact that you're playing a game from 2001. This is before open world games became what they are today. This laid the groundwork for Vice City and the games that came afterwards, and you can't help but appreciate this game. Plus, once again, you can play this on your phone. This is like $4 used if you want to get it on the PS2. You can play it on Steam, PS4. It's pretty much available on almost every conceivable console out there. And as the saying goes, in order to know where you're going, you got to know where you've been or where you're coming from. So this laid the foundation for not just Grand Theft Auto 4 and the other ones, but almost every game that comes out to this day. So if you like Grand Theft Auto 3, let me know what you think about it, as well as let me know which is your favorite open world game of all time. You have your Just Causes, Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, other Grand Theft Auto games. And all of these games have great traits. I think the big question is what makes these games different from one another, because I've seen some of them establish a good guy, bad guy system. So either based on a dialogue tree or your actions, you become a good guy, or you become a bad guy, you become darker, you start washing your clothes less because you're a bad guy, you're a rebel. So hopefully, folks, you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed talking about this. And remember, I'm always open to suggestions, ideas, things you would like me to check out and cover on the channel, whether it is wrestling, video games, unboxing, reviews. I have a video where I talk about the fact that we got to treat each other better on social media. You can check that out right here. And don't forget, you can hit that subscribe button to help support the channel, comment with suggestions, hit that notifications bell. We talked about GTA 3, so this video has concluded, but the epic journey continues. So thank you for watching again. Take care. And I know I got to play Vice City. My wife tells me, all my friends tell me, I'll get to it. I'm actually contemplating playing GTA 4. I think after this one, I wasn't a big fan of the art style, the graphics, and the mechanics in that game, but I feel like I got to give it another shot. So I may do that as well.